listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmeyer, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Yeah, we better start the show. Welcome to another episode of Combat Radio. Sorry. The conversation off mic, as always, is way too hilarious. It's like, do we even need to do a show? Does anyone even want to hear us talk? Because what we're talking about is so awesome. Anyway, I'm kidding. Let's go around the room. We're going to start with the big robot, Mecha Godzilla.
Hello, world. How are you all? 35 countries out there, apparently.
Yes, 36 if you want to count Costa Rica, but who does, really? You're nobody unless you have a military, right?
You just switched off every listener we had. All
I know. Latin America just logged off simultaneously.
I want to go to Costa Rica.
You should. I hear it's beautiful. Yeah. Also with us is one of our favorite regulars, author of the brilliant book, The Making of Tron, and so many other things, filmmaker William Calley.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you, man. It's always great to have you come up. And then we got a bit of a royalty in the studio with us today. Yeah, it's hard to beat this guy as a guest with some cachet, but one of our favorites. You may have seen the live feed when we interviewed him at PopCon, because he's a rather brilliant guy. You know him from things like Star Wars, Empire Strikes, the epic Cabin Boy. Let's start there, Cabin Boy. Then Star Wars.
Let's start and end with Cabin Boy.
There's nothing after Cabin Boy. Forget Tron, forget the Black Hole, forget the Empire Strikes Back.
Let's not forget Superman 4.
Right, Quest for Peace.
There you go.
Right, Quest for Peace, very good. Well, yes, absolutely.
It had a peaceful theme. Mr. Harrison Ellenshaw, good to have you here.
Very nice to be here. Thank you.
One of the cool things to start with, you've done the interview, but I'm going to have to backtrack for those who maybe have not heard our PopCon exchange. But in William Calley's book, there's a great picture of you as a young man being pushed on a cart by Walt Disney, who you knew when they were building Disneyland. And,
yes.
And you were in the mix when your father had a role with. Your father's got a window there. Do you have a window there yet?
No.
Fucking fascist.
No. Jeez.
So
are you kidding?
I'm starting a campaign to get you a window.
Well, they see me coming and they charge me double just to get in.
I doubt that's
because I'm
true,
a troublemaker. Brother. But yeah, my father has a window. In fact, he has one of the original windows that were in there. And by window, if you see along Main Street, there are a number of windows that have names on them, similar to what people did in the late 1800s, 1900s. And so Walt Disney thought it would be very nice to have a window with some of the artists and some of the filmmakers and designers at Disneyland. My father happens to have one. I think it's art school, and there's Peter Ellenshaw, my father, John Hench, and Herb Ryman, who were all Disney artists.
Where is it, approximately?
It's at the end of Main Street. You turn right, and it's right in that little alleyway where the first aid station is.
Oh, nice.
And it's up above, and it's kind of cool because nobody really sees it, and then you can show people when you take them around.
Well, I'm down there all the time, depending on what kind of bender I tie on at the hotel before I go into the park.
Do you?
I can check in at first aid very early.
That way you take the monorail, so you don't have to drive over?
No, I usually stumble in. It's more fun. Yeah. But, I asked you the question last time, and I think our audience would like to hear what your answer is. What do you think when you walk down Main Street now? Do you think...
I think I'm amazed how big the trees are and how small it looks, and that's part of what happens when you become an adult. Everything when you're a kid, and keep in mind, Disneyland was under construction when I was 10, and I would go down there with my father, who worked at Disney Studios, and it was magical then. Even it was dirt and scaffolding. And the day that I rode on this railroad cart was when Walt Disney was down there. It was on a Sunday, and my father was always very enthused about. He had this kind of fascination with life and with things that Walt Disney had, and it was pretty cool because nothing wasn't interesting. It's kind of a double negative there, but. Here was Walt Disney walking around the park. Nobody was there. My father was there with my mother. And Walt comes up to me and looks at me, and I'm 10 years old, and says, "How'd you like to be the first one to take a ride on Disneyland Railroad?" And I'm going, "Yeah, great. Where's the train?" And he takes me over to this flat car sitting on some tracks. And he says, come on, climb on board. So I get on board, and I'm facing front, and I hear Walt Disney pushing the cart. My dad grabs his Rolleiflex camera from my mother. She was always put in charge of carrying the camera. Nice relationship. And he snaps a picture, and Walt Disney is running along behind me, and I'm looking straight ahead, a little bit frightened, and I hear this man huffing and puffing, and I'm having this thought that...
Did he stop for a smoke?
Oh, my God. Everybody knew he smoked, and everybody knew at that time, even 1954, 55, that smoking was not a good thing, in spite of what the ads were, take a puff, and it's springtime, or your doctor recommends Pall Malls. And we'll get
all of that
sued,
stuff.
but whatever they were, and I'm thinking
you're gonna kill him.
If he has a heart attack, this is not how I want to be remembered.
Yeah, that's not the way you want to be remembered.
Not remember me as something else, but not that.
You're listening to Combat Radio with Ethan Dettenmeyer. Right here on LA Talk Radio.